in Uganda, in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil robust opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects, and gain a deep understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic. Welcome to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023 here in Uganda, in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil enabling you to tap into East Africa projects and gain a deep understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic growth for startups, SMEs, women and youth in business, climate change and agriculture, industrialization and value chains in Africa. This is more than an event. It is a platform where business and investment dreams come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners. Welcome to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023 here in Uganda, in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil robust opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects, and gain a deep understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners. Welcome to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023 here in Uganda, in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil robust opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects, and gain a deep understanding of the African Continental Free Trade Area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic growth for startups, SMEs, women and youth in business, climate change and agriculture, industrialization and value chains in Africa. This is more than an event. It is a platform where business and investment dreams come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners. Welcome to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023 here in Uganda, in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil robust opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects, and gain a deep understanding of the African continental free trade area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African continental free trade area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic growth for startups, SMEs, women and youth in business, climate change and agriculture, industrialization and value chains in Africa. This is more than an event. It is a platform where business and investment dreams come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners. Welcome to the East African Business and Investment Summit 2023 here in Uganda in the Pearl of Africa. During this forum, you will unveil robust opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects, and gain a deep understanding of the African continental free trade area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African continental free trade area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic growth for startups, SMEs, women and youth in business, climate change and agriculture, industrialization and value chains in Africa. This is more than an event. It is a platform where business and investment dreams come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners. opportunities, enable trade boosting, establish networks and connections enabling you to tap into East Africa projects and gain a deep understanding of the African continental free trade area, all in the while forge lasting partnerships. We are keen on opening doors for you to tap into East Africa's vast investment potential under the theme Private Sector-Driven Regional Integration for Increased Intra-African Trade and Investment. Key highlights include trade and investment climate, positioning the African sector to take advantage of the African continental free trade area, unlocking digital business opportunities in the region, tax regime harmonization, highlighting the benefits and practical way forward, discussing access to investment for innovation and economic growth for startups, SMEs, women and youth in business, climate change and agriculture, industrialization and value chains in Africa. This is more than an event. It is a platform where business and investment dreams come to life. EABC is thankful to our major partners, Afrexim Bank, GIZ, RSM, Madivani Group, and all other partners.
Artificial intelligence. So, three of the presentation touched very much my heart as someone supervising the industries and SMEs development at East African community, for your community, for the region, the one of energy, the one of transforming bottles, plastic bottles, waste into, some spinning, using the textile industry. I also like the one of the health sector, stroke and heart disease detection, and even the other ones, data management and so on and so forth. Those are the innovative startups that we need to be encouraging in the region because they touch the real life situations of our industry in the East African community. Allow me now move straight to the main point of the day. This is the East African community we are talking about, and without too much going into what are the pillars that East African community stands for, we have the Customs Union, we have the Common Market, and we have the Monetary Union, and then the Political Federation. The first two, the Customs Union and the Common Market, are the pillars.
Have you got it now?
There's a phone that's been written.
The phone, I left here and
If you have the production, then the production have to move.
You and him are the ones.
And it has
But
also
have you like it?
maybe
You have
exported.
missed out.
If
They haven't given it to us.
If we can certify the investing,
It's them who have to.
They haven't given
They haven't given me the
Why
video.
don't you ask?
You give me I gave them the flash. They give me the video.
The video is moving here.
Mulimba, no, we don't need to babysit. You just, of course,
it's about sustainability value chain. And allow me to say that
You done?
I will try to
that
say
video has missed out since yesterday.
in terms
No,
of
we're going
And
to
the
play.
summit is about to end. You still telling his story. He has not given to us. I didn't
the
say
youths
blah, 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 blah.
presented today, and those are
Do
existing.
you understand the problem?
We make them
The
sustainable
video has missed out
as we move
yesterday.
forward, and
Yes,
we
yes,
ensure
They did get in
all the value chains are
I'm going to put it.
promoted from within the East African
No,
community
you line it up.
before
Where the other
we move
videos.
outside of the
It's
community.
in the
Uh,
let him finish their presentation because if
I have here
Okay.
some targets
So this is
that we have as vision and some investment opportunities that we try to, to summarize and consolidate it together. It was some of them were presented here earlier on yesterday, but in a summarized way, we need to maybe go around it again. And this is
It's cold, too cold.
contained in the East African industrialization policy and strategy 2011, which goes up to 2032. And these are the targets that we need to say that we need to achieve over that 20-year period.
omuntu omugamba ekituufu presentation ngiteekeko nti
And the first target
abali tusimanyi
is the
nogitwala
value added. 8%.
oba batumira kuponi y'emmere
Omaliza flash.
2011 and to get it to
Acha
40%.
presentation.
Olina port ya. No, so
ejateeka kutyawo tugijjako
Where had been at,
like
we look at that. Currently,
the Mary.
from manufacturing contribution share to GDP, we are at 9.7 in 2011,
Triple A.
and we are targeting
Yeah, we're
25%
targeting
in 2032. And where we stand now, please note that these are targets for the East African community. So for the whole manufacturing based employment, 456 employment in 2011, and targeting 2.3 million in 2032.
ono erinnya Chris lyerikola
Per capita, transforming micro, small, and medium into viable and sustainable businesses. So contribution was 2% in 2010, and we are targeting 50% manufacturing.
Sibula wakatala.
And the other targets are
ngenda kabba
Okagadde.
sigenda kakuwa abantu
Sikaseera.
ngenda yanziza nakujukirira kwa
from the
ate ngenda kapakinga
which was $50.
A lot of disciplines also have nange
Now target
nasa abantu.
Chris ngenda kapakinga ngatagenda
now my question is, these were targets. They were being negotiated, and this is the process that
ola kakolera
the team here.
Wait, so you are you reporting?
We actually let us know how far we have managed to keep.
This one before lunch, she doesn't understand. It's our flash.
10 years.
bale mugambo ampemu ekyebiri nze nja kuwozawo
ate kasita akampadde nemuwooza okatonda
ampe ekyebiri nja kuwoza
That's 12 years.
olaba kakuna nengenda nga tomanyi
We also
Kayinza okulondoola.
wabitugambagamba dda
to come up with
Wewe tobitya.
to have an idea of what are the
olabye batuuka bagamba
Bulungi, afaanana ka glass, ka plastic.
more
badde ne
than
babuuza ne babuzaawo
other regions where we have the capacity and
You put the flash.
are very attractive and that can make help us achieve that
bajja kubuuza tolina bakubya
is
essimu
kyali mundo
for the region and satisfy the domestic demand.
akasira namba yayo
So the study gives us this is a study was done in 2008 and then rebased very recent 2018 and still the findings is still the same.
This is what
First being agro-processing.
ngenda kukola afudde kati
There is no substance that the economies of East Africa, the industry, is more than 67 led agricultural industry. So that's the reason why agro-processing is used. And second,
they're
fertilizer.
still transferring something here you want to bring some presentations
And for petrochemicals and gas, if iron and
but I'm in the group
one. What kind of flash?
the fresh is here
let me limit myself on this one.
musenge a message of myself
Moving forward, we have to say, what have we done something to ensure that all of this attract
nze ndi mu group zimanyi namba yetu
this type of industries that can help to respond to the demand of a high demanded products in our region? Have we done something? This
olega bagenda
also
kunkolera
something
abakozi
important to
agenda
hear from our panelists. And
Try it. Okay, you try it.
they will give us experiences from their regions, their countries, and we'll be actually checking whether we have done much as compared to what we are supposed to do.
boss aga kunkola aga
So the way and we saw the targets, we saw
You see,
the very
get this picture.
attractive type of industries that the region need,
kisasi
kisasi
and where are we?
okudingamba kitundu
In terms of GDP, how much do we have as a share for the moment? I think you will be a bit surprised, not to say disappointed, that the share has not grown much.
amade namba ya
It is still around 10%.
na
As you see, and the trend is downwards
It's copying.
rather than being upwards.
Ah,
And
Kenya is half.
since
Then you put the other half. In the meantime,
You
you
can
can
see
do whatever
from
you
the
want to
chart.
do with your phone.
although we use information data which is a bit not the latest, because in this area to get that is not that easy.
Captain Amaris.
But this is,
a big,
you know, the
upcoming partner for you. It's called BS Captain.
the result that we
Their
have,
vice president
the
has
current
gone from
status
Nigeria,
that we have.
and he has come with his
Country
government
status.
office.
And you can see, like I said, the trend is
Because
down.
this year especially,
And the average
so I want to
10%.
question to get them
Welcome,
which is
boss.
not that far
But
different
if
from
somebody goes to
the one we
to
had in
inquire
2011. So what are we doing? And what is this?
of them,
Teriko.
yeah, for their
Maybe
publicity,
we get the answer
Osankulira.
from the parties.
Wala iwe tuteka
give
point
them
badde
special
o.
attention. Just like
Ate nakweyogera mu maaso.
their vice president is going to talk in the
Teriko.
Where are we?
Tuzakunda maaso.
Again, we try to
Can you
look at
tell somebody more
Kenza
than
Jemai
people have
said.
banned show them some love, yeah?
for the moment we have identified value chains in different
Maybe
sectors.
their flag they would have said
Leather and leather
Hiyo
products,
sida jamu taipasa tena kucharge. I want to charge boss.
textile,
USB yangu.
but starting by cotton,
I want to be charging.
textile,
Yes.
yes.
value chains,
Omugwa mulambo gwa.
pharmacy,
Kajingira mu buliri.
and
kiro oyinza nokyagirira waneiba
we also looked at automotive industry, but this, as it is not that really well developed in the region, not much has been said around that. But the other value chains, textile,
Now
leather,
tell him that we
then
need cash.
pharmaceuticals,
We need cash.
those are value chains that
N'abanyuma kati n'ennyuka mmaze.
are very attractive,
Nzinyula lekawo kati ngenda kukola wala.
and we do have
Section, the main section down there. If you want to
raw materials that we are not exploiting as we need to. And allow me here to say, we visited like several industries in the region, including industries in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Rwanda, in Uganda, and in Burundi.
Exactly.
And we realized that all the raw materials, even those that come from within the region, are being from
Kuisekana kano nonyengeje kaja mu nsawo yange tatakajamu.
pharmaceutical. And yet, you find that some of the partners say, I give an example.
Ambeka nze jamu mpe ttaano.
The very good wine
Mpe
is
ttaano. Please. Mpe
and
ttaano.
not, you know, trade from within.
Kano kabanga kambeka.
Why?
Esatu nze njala mpemu ttaano.
Or
Kesatu.
the partner
Yeah,
says that you have the salaries prefer to go and get agency that
Kale kankusatu ogenda ogula
sikatunda
or, you know,
awo bampa kumi
ngamba tejja okabuuza.
omanyi ekagula osanga kagula dubai
Dubai tumyaka yange.
ndanga nagenda nekakime
is it because of the lack of information? Is it because of
Kalungi kuwanda
I don't know.
nomusenyu kade
Maybe we
kajamu.
get some answers. But when you go to cotton,
kankoviire
there are countries, you know, growing cotton, like Tanzania. They grow a lot of cotton. When we visited the plantations of cotton, the farm, we realized that they have very big, you know, planted areas. However, we wonder and we had the question of why Tanzania is importing cotton from Burkina Faso or importing cotton from why do they have the plantation of cotton? Is it because of quality?
Zikola kati.
Is it because of
No.
I don't know.
That is the own.
So that was another question that we need to ask ourselves. Those are the value chains.
This man is from Africa. We want his
Have
picture
you been?
since yesterday. He presented yesterday.
So now what you do here? Take this
Technically,
form.
I saw your laptop is steps here.
now,
All
It's
this.
a half. You have copied
uh,
Yes.
here we consider just one example for agro-processing value chains. Because all the value chains, we cannot talk about all the value chains here, from textile, from leather, there are too many. But considering the one of agro-processing, because our industry is 67% led by agriculture raw materials. So that's the reason why we say, can we at least focus on this value chain and check whether we have them in our countries or different countries. If you go to the first one, agricultural inputs and production, those are the initial levels of the value chain. Where is your country on this value chain? And I will tell you the reason. Because each country is either strong or weak in one value chain. So, where countries have strengths, we normally call them comparative advantage in economics. Then where countries do not have strengths, then that's where there should be complementarity. That's where there should be regional supply value chain. So I think one of our elders, Carrera, talked about that yesterday. That in Europe, if they produce a tractor, there is one providing tires, another one providing the mirrors, another one providing the chassis, another one providing whatever that constitutes the tractor. Why can't we do it in the East African community? Regional value supply chain. You cannot produce everything that is based on agricultural commodities, but we can supply each other, complement each other and the community to ensure that where you are the best, you are best. If you are best at something, you do that, and you provide it to the one who is not best. The regional value supply chain, but also basing on the comparative advantage that each one of the particular states has. So, for agro-processing, those are the value chain, agricultural input, production. There are countries producing agricultural input. Tanzania has got a fertilizer facility in Minjimbo. Kenya has got another one. Some other countries have got very good, facilities producing insecticides. Yesterday they talked about Eritrea giving very good insecticides, which is can allow for clean production. Yeah, because you have to consider that. And
move now?
for food
I'm
processing,
copying in the phone.
packaging,
But your copy, the copy.
and then
Or that's your copy.
distribution.
You've seen the picture
And then,
now. You sent it.
If
And then
you have
happy.
satisfied local markets. So
I'm still going to edit them and send.
I wonder that
At the end of the day.
At the end of the
the
Yeah, I'll edit everything.
panels, the panelists who are here, please respond to questions from the audience about how can we make it better to ensure that the region can promote rather regional supply chain and value chain against individual specific country value chain. And this is something that all the speakers from yesterday have been actually talking about. And this is something that you have to work if you want to promote awareness. Moving quickly, Samson, if you go to cotton, textile, and garments, there are so many figures there. But what I want to mention here is the potential in the region is so huge, because we are only operating at 25%,
Plus
40% capacity.
plus 20.
And yet, if I go back to
256.
to the dynamic
20.
of heads of
Hey, I don't know.
summit,
Plus 20.
that requested us to,
Maybe it's South Sudan.
for example, for textile,
Let me see.
to phase out consumption of used clothes and used anything actually, including used clothes, used shoes, used cars.
Egypt.
It's for Egypt.
Under textile,
From Egypt.
we are supposed actually to have phased out this
They're
in
from
the last
Egypt.
5 years.
They do Islamic.
Where are we? I know some countries individually have managed. Others are just starting. But for others, what is happening? The panelists, they come from different countries here, which is better, and they will be getting experience from them.
Simulator.
Yeah, none.
So for the leather
I don't know if you
industry,
stay here. Oh,
I talked much about it. Let me talk about hides and skin once again to say, why are we exporting our leather? That is one question. And second, why are we importing
Hey, this is
Leather.
some presentations too.
of low quality compared to the leather that
this
is
one
produced from within the East African community?
we saw it in our video.
Yeah.
And
But
why?
it has
What
to
are
be
they?
after the what?
What is the
After the
answer?
panel.
Yeah, because now.
And the ESC is
But
the
if
trying
you
to do
said
something
maybe if
to
they're
discourage.
doing what?
For example, export.
Maybe if the screens are free,
And,
you can use to play the video, but
A
instead
levy has been proposed to ensure that
Silent, but some
they
people
discourage
came
export
here
of the leather.
and told me it has
And
been
also,
not,
a levy
like, we
has
shouldn't
been
be
proposed to
putting
discourage
the owners
import
the-
of leather.
Said.
So, and it
As
has
a
been
guy,
included,
okay.
leather has been included, and hides and skins has been included under essential products. The list of essential products that require
Okay, not
either
yazze wano nga mukambwe nga muddugavu ayina ekirevu
or while for the other products,
tuddamu noteekayo vidiyo ani azitadde
they promote
teekayo kipande
local production.
beera wano
Addressing the gaps.
they finished?
So all those gaps that you talked about, how are we trying to address them at regional level?
Our board member.
Because all this that you're
Imagine
talking
mambo zao kama
is
imagine
about
My name
tradition.
is Amit.
It's not about it.
mambo imagine
And we have been implementing regional interventions to ensure that this is done. Allow me to, policies have been developed, we have the policy and strategy, we have good manufacturing
You don't have any person who
practices
can edit
for
pictures, even in paying location.
pharmaceutical industries.
Right now.
We have strategies for all the value chain, textile, leather, automotive sector, fruits and vegetables. And also we have a strategy for the harvest process to ensure that we help the farmers in securing the harvest. And we also have one very important thing that we need to say here, the quality monitoring and evaluation of SMEs that do this work. And those are the tools that we have at the regional level that help us to ensure that we promote the industry and we accompany the business in promoting industrialization in East Africa. Now, what is the way forward? What is the takeaway from this? I think the takeaways here, they build on so many things, and even the presentation that we made earlier on. And the takeaway also touches on what we have in the new East African Industrialization Strategy Action Plan that we have just completed development, that we go to from 2022 to 2027, a 5-year industrialization development strategy. So one is aggressive promotion of local production of high demanded manufacturing goods, including cement, pharmaceuticals, iron, steel products, and fertilizers. We have actually observed that EAC's demand of these products is very high, but we cannot satisfy that demand internally, domestically from East Africa region. We only see a growing imports of the same from outside the community.
Sorry?
So that is, we need an aggressive promotion of local production of high demand manufacturing. The second is the region that is still needs to increase the manufacturing base. Of course, we don't do much, not a lot. Mainly, we are basing on our agricultural qualities. How about the other industries, like the iron? How about the other industries, like minerals refinery, pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities? So the region needs to diversify production and exports, develop the capacities to meet the competitive medium and high demand. And maybe here, the region also needs to go away with the habit of stiff competition among ourselves as executives. You find that there is competition. And rather than we need a complementarity, we need those supply chain. The milk cannot go to London, or the milk cannot go to Rwanda, the maize cannot go to South Sudan, or the maize cannot go to Kenya from any other country. The other takeaway is actually it is very similar to the first one of aggressive promotion of local production, but requiring ensuring that we develop a collective development approach. This goes in line with what our senior Karina said yesterday. So we have to privilege regional farming supply chain for faster development, based on specific country comparative advantage. And the fourth takeaway is to ensure governments to continue ensuring. Here we are not saying that the government are not doing anything. Of course, the government are doing quite a lot of things, but they need to continue to ensure conducive environment for industrialization to take off. And we haven't gone anywhere. The industrialization is still to take off in the East Africa. 10% of share of GDP, which was there in 2011 and in 2023, we haven't taken off. So, and this requires support of so many tools and, like the EPZs, supporting the SPZs, have a very good legal and regulatory framework, fiscal discipline and conservation they talked about yesterday. These are the things that the government need to be, continue doing to ensure that they create a conducive environment for the private sector to do what they are supposed to do. And fifth, digitalization, embracing technological innovation and digitalization. Let me not spend much of this. I think you saw this this morning from the presentation by the youth, which they made a very impressive presentation, and they talked about all of the things in a way that we say industrialization is normal for the elders, is for all of us, including ourselves, youth. I think I'm part of the youth, and I applaud what you have done this morning. Now, since access to affordable financing, I also wanted to not to dwell on this because yesterday Afridis Bank I think talked about it. Standards and
The internet of spec.
So what I did,
This is something very that in this meeting since yesterday we did not actually talk about so much
that push into this internet.
high quality, high standard products
And that's why you see now,
and ensuring the sanitary and phytosanitary measures are, fulfilled. And in one of the presentations that was made by on SME Soko,
$12.
I think this is where, for example, something like the standards are very much needed. Those products that could not compete and are traded between
300.
suppliers and the buyers. You have to ensure conform to the standards. There are standards for the region that we have developed by the East African community, so they have to conform. And the last two, I think, reducing the cost of transport and logistics. This was presented yesterday. And the ninth one is now clean energy. The trend today is to ensure that even if you have
300.
you can have supply chain that work, you can have very developing industry, but if you don't cater for, gas, greenhouse gas emission, reduction of those greenhouse emissions, then you are doing that because very soon this will be backfired on the health of the people, on the health of the environment, on the health of the plants, and everything.
So it's
So,
$800.
clean energy for clean production and green growth
That's what I was fixing.
to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions is also one of the things that is needed. And on that particular note, allow me to
For boosting.
thank you once again for your attention, and also remind people about one of the takeaway I got from yesterday, that we need to be doers rather than talkers. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
There are things you notice when you have no sons and only daughters and no apologies. Somehow many of our populations have more females than males. But again, somehow more males make it to panels than females. I'm still looking for an explanation for it. But what I did in order to increase the level of females in top positions, once I had my last daughter, I stopped. So I'm raising top females that will make it to panels when somebody else is moderating. For now, we will go with the one that we have and the males that are here. But I can tell you she will make a very spirited performance.
So you have lined it up, huh?
So off we go with our panel. And I will begin with the lady for very obvious reasons.
Put it at the front.
Lady Farida Mkasa Kasuja is from the African Bank, and I know that you have been supporters of African trade and development. The question I'm looking for here is the extent to which the bank, or maybe let me just say, how does the bank view its role in promoting sustainable industrialization and fostering value chains across this continent?
Thank you very much, Samson. I'm privileged to be here representing the girl child and the females in the room on this panel.
And on that, I will add that you are not here by affirmative action.
Could be, but not. So thank you very much. Afrexim Bank, if you allow me, Simon, just to give you a refresher of yesterday. My colleague did speak about the bank, but just to remind the audience today, we were created in 1993, and the main objective of the bank is to bridge the financing gap and diversify African trade by promoting inter-Africa and extra-Africa trade, particularly Africa-South trade, as well as promoting
your coat.
coming out of Africa. So the bank is owned by 52 companies in Africa. The strategy of the bank, dubbed Impact 2026, is extending frontiers. What do we mean by that? It's covered by three main pillars, and one that is specifically related to internally how the bank operates. These three pillars are the focus on intra-Africa trade and the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. That is a specific strategic pillar for the bank and makes part of our core strategy. The second one is industrialization and export development. The third one is leadership in global trade finance. The bank was created to support the growth of trade on the continent. With that, what have we done already? I'll highlight just a few points. The bank has disbursed over $37 billion between 2020 and 2022 in deepening intra-Africa trade and helping African governments and businesses to mitigate challenges posed by pandemics like the most recent one, COVID-19 and the Russia. The scope of services offered by the bank as opposed to by creating subsidiaries that this is my boss. We're also looking at how to support trade through the provision of payment systems. You had my colleague yesterday speaking about the Africa Payments and Settlement Platform. We also are looking at other innovative ways to support the continent in technology and ability to be able to diversify and support gateway trade for the continent and information. So with that, Simon, we have been able to grow a number of things that we'll be able to speak about in terms of this.
Do you want to speak about those initiatives?
Okay. So I'd just like to pick from the previous speaker and where he ended around what are we doing on the continent to provide a conducive environment for collaboration, what is the collective development approach. I was very intrigued by the presentation made by the SME Soko. We spoke about what we are doing in November of this year, the Inter-Africa Trade Fair, which is a platform that will enable majority of, we are going to attract at least 43 billion in trade and investment deals in one platform. This will be during the Inter-Africa Trade Fair that was initially commissioned as a marketplace to be able to promote cross-border trade. This platform in itself is one of those opportunities that allows for people to come together to be able to exchange information. I spoke with the director for SME Soko. The platform, this trade fair is available both physically in Cairo between the 9th and the 15th of November, but also we have enabled participation virtually. So the ability for you to be able to sell and experience the trade virtually on the platform is also accessible. So my call to action is for you to be able to
My brother is teaching this one.
so that you are able to participate in as delegates, sponsors, or exhibitors. And I would really encourage the members here. Further, in the support of value addition and industrialization, the bank has discussed, as I mentioned, over 20
I am hungry, I am angry, I am tired, I am sleepless. We humbly applied.
So addressing value support
Yes, my dear.
Kindly request that you should replay the PAC.
the previous speaker
The PAC,
spoke about
Now.
what can we do, how can we support. So once
Mama,
government
yes.
is here,
Ndakukubetana kana ndikuli.
how do you get economy to scale? How do you mobilize
Omusajja omuwanvu wano.
So we support the establishment of industrial
There's a sponsor doing this.
Yeah.
parks.
Namuga agenda nkaddamu nkako naye njagala omukyala asooke abaweemu ttayima okukuba
In collaboration with partners, is able to assist governments and private sector
Ngulu muteekako ice. Eze wano nifuna video in between kati nga busatu yasanze ngenda mugambe kyekyo
Nigeria, Malawi, Zambia, and currently working with Kenya. More countries.
Mr. Lubega said he has bought
Further,
1.1
in addressing the gaps that the previous speaker spoke about, challenges on control, he spoke specifically about the leather industry and
Tanzania
sector. How do we ensure
iPhone 13
that the
is flat.
quality of goods coming out
I think it's 64.
It's not new.
where we are exporting.
Okay, yeah, if it's not new, it's fine.
So to address this
not
barrier
boxed.
of non-compliance with
But this one is a
international
13 Pro Max. One,
we as Afreximbank
256.
Facilitating the
5 Pro.
establishment of the Africa Quality Assurance Centers, provide testing, inspection and certification of services and goods produced and made in in December 2020, the bank completed the commissioning of the pilot Africa Quality Assurance Center in Nigeria.
I have more space
And
for
the
mine.
specific one was in support of the food and agriculture sector and agro-processing goods.
Remove the whole thing.
Export of agro-processed goods out of Nigeria are now being certified internationally.
See, I have more
and
space here
ensuring
than
that
here.
we get
It's 5
top
Pro.
dollar value for the exports coming out. The bank
What
is
you
currently
need?
working on expanding
Private things,
Africa Quality Assurance Center initiatives within the
this
East
is
African region. Starting
Laptop
with
is
Ethiopia
better.
and Kenya that are currently
Better
working
than
on this.
the phone.
Furthermore,
Maybe.
the bank in
But it depends with
collaboration
the
with the
users.
African
Yes.
Organization for
Now, for me, I
Standardization,
use mine
the
because
Arab Bank
every
for
time I
Economic
download, I
Development
just
Barrier,
move things from
and the
where
International
I
Islamic Trade Finance Corporation and PTB Germany have supported working on harmonization of close to 400 standards in the automotive, medical, and pharmaceutical sectors, as well as the textile and clothing sectors. Just to add two more, Simon, if you'd allow me. The investment.
I don't have a choice. I will.
Sorry.
I don't have a choice. I will allow you.
In addition to that, we are supporting investments and infrastructure. There's an issue of financing and how accessible financing is for large local corporates and growing SMEs. So Afrexim Bank has come up with the Afrexim Bank Guarantee Program that helps to de-risk African transactions because it is more attractive.
Briefly?
The very last one that I make mention of is the ability for us to actually get projects. We have very good concepts, and as I was listening to the innovators this morning, makes a point that speak about the Afrexim Bank project preparation that allows to use project ideas from just ideas into marketing, where we are able to finance the actual technical studies,
audio
and
broadcast.
provide advisory services and financial
If you have
support
time, I'll take
with
it.
the early intervention in the project preparation stage. So those are some of the many product offerings and strategies and
Like that sound card thing.
Thank
This
you.
sound card is
Now that we're talking about standardization, let me come to you, Dr. Sejimana. And let me come from this place. Eating a restaurant in many places in Africa, and you like the food,
okay.
and you trouble to go back there because of yesterday, and you go back.
That one, this one I got it from the US.
What we found is that whereas
Yeah, from here.
Caucasian
it will be a bit more
restaurants,
pricey.
the kitchen has
It's 2.5.
a weighing scale, and they know exactly how much, in terms of ounce of salt, goes to a certain pan. Here, to determine salt, we use the tan. Now, if the person cooking had sugarcane before they tested, it's different. So, that's the group that we are talking to standardization, and whether we understand the importance of standardization. But now that you heard standardization, I mean, even if it is going to a tailor, every time you go there, you seem to have clothes fitting differently, and you're measured again and again. You wonder what happens to the measurement. So, how are you ensuring that there is a pivotal, important role of standardization, and that we harmonize standards for sustainable industrialization and value chains, A, B, and how do we ensure that those standards support economic growth without compromising, if you may, quality? I wonder whether that makes sense, and I'm probably speaking to things you understand yourself.
It does.
You understand my frustration?
Yes. Imagine Paul coming in the shop and trying on shoes because it's number 9, but when you say the number 9, it becomes the number 7. It's mean that's number 9 in the shop, it's not number 9. It's what you are talking about, clothing. Let me start by thanking my brother, Carissa, for organizing this. I think it's, when you look at the innovators, the young innovators who saw this one, it's amazing. It's amazing, and we start by saying we are in 2023. If we can see them in 2028, telling us the business has grown. I would like to start that they should protect their innovation first. Intellectual property is very important. Let me go to your question now. When you talk about sustainability, it's normally 3 corners. One is social, second is economy, and the third one is environment. Meaning we should have economical growth that also respects on social issues and environmental issues. And the standards, they came in different ways. Why do we develop standard? The first thing is what you talked about is safety. It can be either safety of food, safety of building. We are sitting here, we don't fear that the building will collapse on you. no one is looking up, that everything is going to collapse. That's safety. Second is to see that
But
the
in
trend
general,
is
airport is not
happening
like this.
among
It's
the
not bad
countries.
everywhere, it's just this place.
Then the
Yeah.
third is
Sorry?
Not everywhere.
Not
can
everywhere.
protect
We have very good network.
how the standards
Don't play.
do that is what we call
Jane wants-
the three C's.
Don't.
Three C's.
After the
One
presentation,
C,
you will project.
the standard will help you.
They came here as the presentation was on.
How
They wanted the video.
do
You can tell
the
him.
standards
You can
help
tell him
you
because
to
you're the
compete
professional.
is
Jane is
exactly
just-
having the same processes. If you are producing
Because if you
meat,
play the advert,
what you are
distract the
giving
attention.
You're
today
right.
should be the same as tomorrow, should be the same as
I agree.
next year. But where do we go wrong? Let's give an example of a beautiful country like Uganda, cattle keepers. You will find someone saying, my cows are Jersey cows. The Jersey is a breed from UK. Why can't we have the Toro
They don't have
breed
a logo like
and the Rukiga
I
breed?
would have
We have the
last
Ankole.
Yes, we already have a foreign breed, which is a very good example that we don't have in other countries. It's because you record. You record
I
that
have 1, 2,
this
3.
cow
Usually
came
for now, 5
from
different
this
separate
other
one from this
one.
one.
It produces
Since
this quantity
yesterday,
of
it's
milk.
I'm telling you,
Then
I've
now you
suffered.
can give a whole documentation. What is doing that? That makes you competitive on the market. That is the first C, compete. But why do you want to do that? Is the second C, which is called conform. You conform to the market.
11,
This
7.
is also challenging because
It's
who
called
is
subcapital.
dictating the market for our African continent, East Africa? Maybe it's
11,
the buyer, it's Europe, it's America, it's Asia.
7.
But it's true because even if we are brothers,
6, 8.
it doesn't mean I should not protect
6,
my
8, 0.
people, my consumers, because we also know there are industries that will produce substandard goods. That's when you are now conforming, the challenge that we should rethink. We should rethink it's not only the person buying that should dictate your market. The producers can also leverage on what you are dealing with. I give an example from Kenya. You had early this year, the end of last year, the case of UK when you are not allowed to buy 1 kg of cucumber in the supermarket or tomatoes or vegetables because there was lack of vegetables on the market. The first seller, exporters of vegetables and fruits was Kenya from East Africa. Yeah, can dictate at that time the market if you want. Even if they are the buyers, but you leverage on that and dictate the market. Cocoa industry,
Try again.
Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana has done it on standard matters. There was international standard that was hampering the business of cocoa industry. Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana requested the organization, African Organization for Standardization.
That's what I'm doing here.
To develop sustainability standard in cocoa. Now the chocolate industry is using African standards that are responding to the need of our farmers.
Have you
The
moved?
third
Have you moved and you
which
put
is
the
the
last
last
batch?
C, is now to connect
problem with the
to
person?
the market. The standard should help us to connect to the market.
Only the flash.
Connecting to the market is embedded in the quality that you are having. It's embedded even on the packaging that you are having. And that's the main key issue moderating. We have the quality. You are buying on the quality. But today, look at the European, what we call the sustainability due diligence regulation that is requesting by 2025 all products coming outside the European Union market will have to
demonstrate that they are certified as a sustainable product. Now the environmental issue is key. How many businesses in East Africa or in Africa in general understand that by 2025, apart from just showing that the quality is there, you will be requested to demonstrate that you are conforming to environmental sustainability standards. That's the question, that's what we should help our industry and focusing on SMEs. If we don't focus on the SMEs, it will also be a problem because our business is based on the development of SMEs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe finally, but by no means, this does not mean that we are developing indigenous African standards, or we have to follow the standards given to us by, under these standards cut across, or we have to follow the standards given to us by our distant cousins from.
Actually, by the WTO agreement, what we do is to look if international standard exists or they fit the purpose. Because we don't participate in international standardization. Only 10 countries out of 55 countries at our continent are at a good level of participation in international standardization. That's the reason where you find the standard produced and published at international level do not speak to our needs as Africa. Then that's where ARSO comes in, the African Organization for Standardization, where we develop unique product standard for not just for intra-African trade, but for also international trade. But remember that we have a very low intra-African trade. If we can utilize 1.4 billion of people, probably we shouldn't even be talking about sending our products.
You say if, and I can add that that's a very big if. Talking about intra-trade, let me come to you, Mr. Adubat, from the East African community, and I know that it has made a lot of strides in regional integration. Now, the question I'm asking is, what collaborative efforts or policies do you believe should be prioritized to lift and, if you may, promote trade between East Africa, if you may, and cooperation, and create a conducive environment for sustainable industrialization and robust value chain?
Last week.
Thank you very much. Good morning. And allow me again to reiterate what my brother said and thank the East African business news.
It's good.
To discuss issues privately and discuss issues in terms of integration. And I think as people of policy at the level of policy, it's important for us to participate in these private sector dialogues so that we're able to have some takeaways when we are sitting down to be able to share some of these things into perspective and to your question on what specific policies identified and priorities at the regional level are priorities so that we're able to attain the the East African community, just like everybody else, we have to be able to industrialize.
So see how the boosters help.
And that conversation just made by my colleague from ESC.
Seriously, I'm ready.
Gave us
but is this
of where the region is looking at. One of the things that I'll probably give a quick answer to is, and this was alluded to in the presentation and to address it, we have an industrialization policy as a policy. That EAC industrialization policy, which is a 20-year policy, developed from 2012 to 2022, with specific objectives, and that it was envisaging a globally competitive, environmentally friendly, and sustainable industrial sector that can inspire economic development and change the lives and livelihoods of And I think that's a very good policy, and it has one of the things it's supposed to achieve, as we saw from the presentation, was to attain the manufacturing contribution to the GDP for the region to 25% by 2032. I think we are halfway through now. We're almost 12 years in from the time it was created, 10 years, 11 years. Let's say halfway in. And you can see that we're still operating at around 10% or just below 10%. So we still have a long way to go. So actualizing that industrialization policy and focusing on the value chains, again, that were elaborated in the presentation, that we look at as a region. What are these value chains? In the pharmaceutical industry, cotton, textile and apparel, agro-processing, fruit and vegetables. So we have specific value chains that we say we can look at to industrialize quickly, and so that we are able to move the manufacturing contribution to GDP. Industrialization also helps us, of course, create jobs. It's going to spur economic development in the other, sectors. Like we are an agriculture-based economies as a region. So if you bring in any value addition or you spur development in any of these industries, then the agricultural sector benefits immensely. So that's one of the things that I wanted to say as a policy. But of course, we have several others. We have the Pharmaceuticals Manufacturing Plan of Action, which is a 10-year plan of action from 2017, I think, to 2027. The objective of that pharmaceutical manufacturing plan of action was to ensure that we're able to create manufacturing industries within the EAC, so that we're able to meet our needs for supply of pharmaceutical products and equipment that can be produced locally in East Africa. Over 70% of the pharmaceutical products that we consume in the region actually is imported. And even those companies that operate within the pharmaceutical space, I'm sure will say that they import more than almost 100% of the active ingredients they use in the manufacturing processes. So something needs to be done, and we have a manufacturing plan of action as a region in the EAC level. And the idea is to ensure that we reduce our dependency of imports on pharmaceutical products and give an opportunity to the private sector to invest in the manufacturing space and provide healthcare products and pharmaceutical products for our region. So that's, again, another policy that can be prioritized. A lot of conversations have been had about quality, and I think that we are not left behind as EAC. The fact that you need to standardize and harmonize quality has been very critical. If I am manufacturing in Kenya, I have to be subjected to Kenya Bureau of Standards. If I come to Uganda, I need to look at the Ugandan Bureau of Standards. Are those two standards regulatory authorities speaking to each other? If I move a product from here, I went to another country, will I be told that this do not meet the local standards? And that has led the East African community to come up with a legislation which is called the Standards Quality Assurance, Metrology and Testing Act, and it has its own regulations as well. And the objective of that SQMT Act is to ensure that we harmonize as a region the standards that will help us spur this industrialization and industries we're talking about. So that when you manufacture something, they speak to all the quality standards that are required within the region, so that you're able to sell within the region without being asked questions when you reach the other end of the region. So that is also one of the policies and the acts that can help us. We have something has also been spoken about, a focus on the automotive industry and value chains.
Okay.
And again, we are looking at it from a regional perspective, that there is space for us to assemble some parts of the products that end up in the motor vehicles and the motorcycles as a region. And that potential has already been identified as a regional level. So we've come up with an EAC assembly scheme regulations, which were adopted this year in 2023. And the objective is to ensure that we are able to identify some of those parts that end up in the vehicles that are being manufactured or assembled locally and motorcycles. And this gives us an opportunity to create those industries so that the private sector now can play its part to ensure that they're not only just operating, but they're also thriving as a result of the conducive environment being created. There has been conversation about special economic zones. Again, we have an EAC special economic zones policy
The idea being that we encourage this kind of zones, and that will help that space now, manufacturing, assembly, so that we have exports again. I know specific partner states are focusing on that, but we are now looking at an EAC, Special Economic Zones policy.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, it's important to note that under the Customs Union, we have the common external tariffs. And the fourth band, we've created a four-band tariff, which has moved, which has created a fourth band of 35%. And I think the objective of that ECET is also to ensure that we protect some of our industries locally and make it punitive for us to import things which we have locally. So that also should give us, the whole idea of that regime is to ensure that we spur economic growth and industrialization.
Okay.
So
By locally,
nutshell,
you mean East Africa or the individual countries?
this is now for the whole of East Africa.
Okay.
My points are all for East Africa. So
Okay.
as a region, you can see that we have substantive policies that we have created that are supposed to create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive so that we have industrialization and ultimately achieve that objective of manufacturing sector contributing to 25% and above of our GDPs. So the ball is in the court of the people in this room who are the private sector to play their part, and we say that so they're able to action and take advantage of these legislations. Thank you.
Okay. Did you say that in most of our pharmaceutical industries, the active ingredients are almost 100% imported?
That's my understanding, but I stand corrected.
Okay.
So I know that around 70% or so of the pharmaceutical products that we use, including equipment, is imported.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because I find that interesting because we actually study a lot more than the people from whom we import, because they study between 9 and 3 p.m. We go to class at 6 a.m. and leave in the night, but we are still importing. There's a very interesting something there that we need to look at. Maybe we studied too much to produce. But anyways, let me come to you, Augustine. Is it Augustine or Augustine? I'll just call you Ag. The bank's industrialize Africa strategy tends to show that it has a cooperative advantage in supporting industrialization, right? How does it finance projects? And if I may, to be more specific, can you outline for us some key flagship programs of the bank's move on industrialization? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start by extending thanks to the EABC and all the partners for organizing this very important business and investment summit. I am the country manager for the bank, African Development Bank in Uganda, and my Director General, Mrs. Nwabufo, extend special greetings as well as the president and entire bank family. In terms of industrialization, firstly, we have something called our Have 5 vision. The top 5 priorities to develop Africa as an African development bank. One of the strategies is what we call, we've dubbed Industrialize Africa. We also have a Feed Africa strategy, a Light Up Empower Africa strategy, and an Integrate Africa strategy, and improve the quality of life for African people strategy. In terms of our flagship program for industrialization, one of which is to foster industrial policies, which consists of policy advice and technical assistance to governments and funding key PPPs, public-private partnerships. The other one is to catalyze funding into infrastructure and industrial projects, which aims to increase and channel funding into catalytic infrastructure and industrialization projects across Africa. We also grow liquid and effective capital markets through our assistance to what we call our regional member countries. We promote and drive enterprise development, and we promote strategic partnerships in Africa. We develop, as one of our flagships, we develop efficient industry clusters across the continent. These 6 flagship programs are supported by what we call cross-cutting strategies, because if you don't have those strategies to undergird these programs, we may not achieve what we call the bang for our buck. So we have this strategy being supported by a private sector strategy, a climate change and green growth strategy, a gender strategy, and strategy to address fragility and resilience. In terms of our what we call our comparative advantage, based on what we do, we focus on 2 strategic areas of interventions: enhancing industry value chains, and then supporting enterprise development. How do we enhance industry value chains? We do so by supporting export-oriented manufacturing and development of targeted value chains for economic diversification and higher productivity. We focus on 5 priority value chains, some of which overlap with what was put up there by the previous speaker. One is agro-processing. The other one is gas beneficiation, textiles, RCTs, and pharmaceuticals. Then the last one, in terms of how do we finance the implementation of industrial project, we have 3 main instruments. One is called the investment lending. That's the main instrument. And then we have something called PBOs, program-based operations, that budget support to countries. And then we have resource-based financing. But by doing so, we finance the formulation of industrial policies, industrial development action plans and strategies, and other investment-related programs. In supporting countries, we support countries mainly through what we call sovereign operations, through fundings that we give the government, and then through what we call the non-sovereign operation. That's the private sector. Some of the things we do in terms of our funding, some of the things we support, include policy reforms related to industrial development, support to SMEs, financing mechanisms, competitiveness enhancement initiatives, development of industrial infrastructure, special economic zones, logistics, etc., support to government investment programs, operationalization of public bodies and instruments focusing on industrial development, and funding and operationalizing of industrial funds, and then support the PPPs. As at last year, in terms of numbers, the amount of approvals for our industrial development strategy was about 1.45 billion, an increase over the previous year. Like for Uganda, we also are supporting, to have efficient transport system that can link to the regional markets. We are supporting the development of the meter gauge railway. We are the main funders, and we are also in other countries, even in Uganda, talking about potential support to a standard gauge railway that will materially cut the cost of transport, which will make companies and institutions in this region very competitive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Talking about Africa, there's a day I dreamed that Africa had found something they call the Afrola, which is a currency that grows across the African continent. But I'm not somebody who studied finance, I'm just somebody who studied theology. So my levels of faith are completely in a different place. But maybe if that were to happen, it would help the bank. Mr. Mwesigwa, you represent both the private sector and the board, and you're the last one to ask here. how can businesses within the region contribute both to local value addition as well as enhancing the role of the East African community in sustainable industrialization? And finally, are there some specific sectors or strategies you believe can hold that particular promise?
Thank you very much, Samson, and all the panelists here, plus the audience. Stuart Jason Mwesugwa, my name, once again, and I work for Roofings Group, which is a steel and plastics quality manufacturer of products that are involved into construction area. Yes, rightly as you ask, are there specific areas? I've seen a number of us are emphasizing pharmaceuticals, emphasizing agriculture, but steel is one area where we really need to put emphasis, because without steel, industrialization cannot take place. And if we are to move fast in our economic development, if we must industrialize, we need to have steel. But going back, that steel cannot alone complete the cycle. We need to look into the fact that our natural resources, our minerals, our agriculture, we have fertile soils. We need to go back and say, how do we do integration, backward integration into value addition of these naturally God-given things to us? Now, as private sector, many times we have had the issue of competition. Competition is healthy because it enables us to try and gauge, to benchmark on what we are not doing best or what we are doing best. But the problem is where we have unfair competition, that is really a disgrace to economic development, that becomes antisocial, that becomes negatively impacts on the development of how we can grow as a company, as a country, or as a region. We need to embrace Bubu. Now when I'm talking to Ugandans, buy Uganda, build Uganda. That's one way of demonstrating our potential. We need to embrace Bear, buy East Africa, build East Africa. And when we come together, when we talk and implement, like how Senior Karera was saying, we have become political talkers. Let us talk and then implement what we have talked. We come together, bigger, better, in whatever we are doing. I want to request our governments, whether our Uganda or East Africa,
before you request
to
the
involve us.
Mr. Mwesugwa, before you request the government, there is Buy Uganda, Build Uganda, and there is Buy East Africa, Build East Africa. Should I buy a Ugandan product where a Kenyan one is better? Now that we're talking standardization.
Mr. Kasumba?
Should I buy a Kenyan product when a Rwandan product is clearly better? We want your position on this.
Mr. Kasumba, if I can go back to Bunyoro, where I come from, Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom, I'm a Bunyoro 311, and I happen to be one of the legislators in the Kingdom Parliament. We have a belief, and culturally, we say, a night dancer starts from his home. You need to love your country first, then others can follow.
But that night dancer must be of a certain quality and standard.
Yes, that's why I talked about benchmarking. When we benchmark, we can equate. My brother here was talking about size 9 and size 7. I know very well, if I go to do shopping in Marks and Spencer, I will find that if it is a UK product, they will say size 44, I know that means 11 in Uganda. In China, it might be size 15. In USA, it might be size 9. We can equate. Even when we are talking steel, we have American standards, we have Ugandan standards, we have East African standards. But you'll find that when you actually go in the lab to test, you can get the same results.
And
so I want to urge you to love the Ugandan product first. If we are buying wine, go for better wine first.
I am not letting you on this, because the point I'm making here is, and it's a point that was made yesterday, if we promote nationalism, then anybody can produce anything because it's going to be bought. But if we say that in East Africa, buy the best product available, then it will mean that we are telling everybody that if your product is not of top standards, we are not going to promote it.
We should not. We should not promote it.
You have a problem with my position?
Yes, I've got it. If I talk backwards from my friend who was quoting the 3 C's, there was one C which says conform.
But that came after compete.
Yes. But those 3 C's must go together in order for us to be able even to compete to the international standards. So we cannot have 2
compete,
or one of them.
Conform.
Yes.
And what doesn't conform, we shall not market.
We will not market it.
Yes.
That's where maybe
even
I
if
would
it
go.
comes from my country, I won't market it.
Don't market it.
Thank you.
Don't even buy it. The biggest challenge we are having in some of us who conform to the standards, some of us who ensure that we don't compromise in our manufacturing processes, is where we are having illicit trade, is where we are having unethical practices of manufacturing. It's a big problem. We can never move forward if we accept to mix with double standards. It has to be one standard.
Okay. Now I think I have understood your Buy Uganda and Build Uganda means that product is the best product. The Ugandan product is
Even
the best
in
product
Africa.
in East Africa.
Yes.
Where it isn't, I go to the Rwandan one.
Exactly.
Good.
If it is not the best standard, it must be equitable to the best standard in East Africa.
Fantastic. Continue.
Yeah. So, of course, there are so many other factors that we need to embrace. Environment. Someone talked about the environment. The environment that we operate in. If we don't protect the environment, if we degrade the environment, if we are doing unethical practices, we have fumes, we have gases, and we cannot control them. We are just emitting them in the air. Then we breathe air, oxygen, which is contaminated. We get cancer. We get other diseases. We will be unhealthy. A healthy mind definitely is an innovative mind, is a productive mind. So we need to be healthy. We need to be very careful about our environment. These products, if they have quality, the conforming to standards, we need to find a way of, when we come together as private sector practitioners, as manufacturers, agriculturalists, pharmacists, and what have you, how best are we ensuring that we actually distribute these products so that they can reach the end user when they are still in the quality aspect that we actually let them get out of the factory. However, our consumers also need awareness. The Africa Free Continental Trade Area yesterday, when we were being asked how many people have full information of what it is, of how it's going to operate, I think there were 2 hands, but sincerely, why? I sometimes wonder, when we go to a supermarket to do shopping, how many of the shoppers actually know that even toothpaste has an expiry date, or even bathing soap? We just pick products and put in our shopping baskets. There should be a deliberate awareness of the products that are available, the products that are locally manufactured. If it is an iron bar, what length should it be? What weight should it be? What chemical composition? What physical structures? All these kind of things. Awareness, awareness, awareness should be a deliberate effort, both with ourselves who are practicing in the manufacturing, with the government organizations who are the watchdogs of standards. We need to have this deliberate effort. I was saying, I'm requesting that our governments involve us. We know we have to do marketing by ourselves. But if we have prior information of, say, what infrastructure projects will be in Uganda, will be in Kenya, will be in Rwanda, will be in DRC, which ones of those can we combine efforts together to ensure that it happens? Like we've been talking about the pipeline. We needed concerted efforts. My friend from ADB has been talking about SGR. We are importing sleepers. We are not making them. Why are we not manufacturing those kind of things, say from Kenya, from Uganda, and we supply? This can rejuvenate our standard of living. It will create very many jobs, and this East Africa will be a very wonderful thing for us to be in. Lastly, the young men who are here, thank you to EABC for actually putting a lot of young men and women who came here to demonstrate their innovation. It's good our seniors have deliberately given support to see that these people are encouraged and supported to demonstrate their potential, to grow their potential. These young people, I feel very proud, and thank you that they came. They have the energy, they have the numbers, they are the future. I beg to submit.
And the last one, of all, I think there were 7, of all the 7, is there one you are moved to invest in as an individual?
As an individual, yes.
Yeah. You will talk to them.
Yeah, I will talk to them. But for the sake of learning, I will not be shy to talk about roofings. We are available for any benchmarking kind of innovation. If they want to come for internship, if they have other friends and fellow founders who would love to see modern technology, who want to learn, we are at any one time offering internship placements of about 100 vacancies. They are welcome. They are welcome.
Okay. And Mr. Nsenjimana, somebody asked here, intriguing how international certification does not include Africa. What is the definition then of international in the trading context?
International in standardization means you build on consensus and you are open to the comments of everyone.
Okay.
That's why in the process of standardization, we have what we call public review. After at a certain stage of developing a standard, you post the standard for anyone in the world. You post it on your website or other platform for commenting.
Okay.
That's why we have, at the continental level, we have Made in Africa criteria that actually has been approved by our Council of Ministers at African Union level. We also have EcoMark Africa. It's a certification for environmentally sustainably produced goods.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been asked not to open the floor for questions. We can meet the presenters during the break because I want to get into inviting PSC to make a very, very brief presentation after this. Give the panel a very big hand clap. PSC, Capital, please come. I will give you a very, 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 very brief session. The questions, I think, will come to you directly during the break. Please take your seats. I will not demarket somebody, but I bought a Ugandan product against the advice of one of my people because they had advised that the Kenyan product was better. I said, no, I'm being patriotic. I regret having not listened. Now I am on the Kenyan product in that particular regard. So I have limits to my patriotism. PSC, please come. PSC is, PSC Capital is going to make a presentation. Mr. Inya Egu is the Vice President. He's here. Please take your seat. And he did not come alone. He also came with Samuel A., who is for investment policy. And if I got it right, Mr. Inya, do you come from Nigeria? You come from Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, a Nigerian is going to make a presentation. You can tell that that one will be very energetic. Mr. Enya, I've been asked to give you 3 minutes. Is that more than enough? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Inya Egu. I work with PSC Capital as a Vice President. I must say that I'm very, very glad to be here representing PSC Capital. And also we are happy to be sponsor of this event. We believe in Africa and will continue to support Africa. PSC Capital is an investment banking firm registered in Nigeria. We have physical office in Ghana and also have strategic partnership across Africa. We work in partnership with Afreximbank, and we have executed a couple trade financing, real estate, hospitality. We handhold all the companies over there and lead them through the Afreximbank process. We have listened to the product that Afreximbank have and other banks in Uganda and also East Africa. The issue is that after listening to them, because we don't have the required document that we need to approach these banks, we'll continue to struggle around to ensure that we grow organically. There are cases you just need to tap into the funding and you're able to expand the business beyond where you are. So what I'm trying to say in effect is this. At any particular point in time, you need an advisor who has to take you through the process. Get your business plan ready. Your financial model, there are key requirements that you need to assess funding, because a lender has to review those documents to be able to assess the viability of your business before he advances any funding to you. They cannot just give you money to run your business. They have to be sure that the money they are giving you is coming back to them, because there is cost to that fund they are giving to you. So you need to prepare yourself, and somebody needs to guide you through the process, because you need to submit application, you need to submit your business plan for review, you need to submit other documentations. Those things, if you don't have it, if you don't know about it, you will continue to struggle. So in PSC Capital, because we have been able to, understand the way Afreximbank works, we're able to take you through that process, ensure you have documents that aligns with what the bank needs, and you'll be able to raise funds. Like I mentioned, we have done it in so many countries. East Africa is not an exception. We are here to develop strategic partnership, because you may be wondering, since you are in Nigeria, how do you do these businesses? Yes, just a click. We execute transactions based on the strategic alliance we have built over the years in all the countries we have operated. We do not have physical office in most of the countries. But if we have that strategic alliance, we're able to engage and still be able to, help you to raise funding. So in a nutshell, PSC Capital is available. If you look at the table, you will see our profile. You can also talk to me after this presentation, and we'll be able to, guide you on how you'll be able to raise your next funding. And I know it is possible, because we have done it before, and we have the capacity to do it again. Thank you, everyone.
In an ever-growing continent with a huge upwardly mobile population, immense untapped value lies in assets and resources. What can be done to grow and protect our wealth? PAC Capital
Interesting
in providing superior advisory and capital raising
developments.
to players in key sectors of the economy.
The
we have incredible experience working with multilateral funding and credit
closure is going to happen in a few.
As a Pan-African focused
They are bringing in the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Matia Kasaija, and then we'll get ourselves through the closing ceremony. So we will have to beg your indulgence in a few so that he can come in, and then we'll go through the closing ceremony, which will be happening very, very briefly. But as I was saying a little earlier, I have stopped the business of asking children to study a lot, because it seems in this world those who study very little do a lot. Those of you who have traveled know that the time in school in probably the United States and most of Europe is between 9 and 3 p.m., including break and lunch. So I've been asking myself and many people in Uganda here, how can we account for all the time we spend in school, including prep, night prep? I am yet to see what that time does. So the minister will be here, and then we will get through the closing ceremony. That's going to happen in very few.
Over 25 countries, we are committed to excellence, innovation, and efficiency to unleash Africa's true potential. We serve a diverse clientele and possess an excellent track record in a vast array of sectors like financial services, real estate, manufacturing, tourism and hospitality, mining, healthcare.
In the meantime, is Southern Nyanza here?
Agriculture, trade,
Yes, come and make a pitch in a minute and a half.
ICT and the public sector. Our experience and expertise working in these sectors adequately position us to preempt the needs of our clients and render impeccable capital solutions. We provide financial intermediation that positively influences
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Mubiru from Southern Rain Nyanza. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon. And all I'm doing is a very simple job. A job that actually takes away the so much detail that we have gone through in terms of financing, trade policy, name it. I'm here to validate the sharing done by especially Afrexim and PSC Capital in terms of the fact that Afrexim Bank is a serious bank that has spoken about the billions that they have had actually to lend out, and we are beneficiaries as an entity. And I'll share an experience very, very quickly in the interest of time. It was around COVID-19, 2020, when the whole world closed and we needed to deal with sourcing of PPEs in not only Uganda but across the world, when we came across Afrexim Bank. And around that time, they were speaking to really reconfiguration of supply chains in terms of COVID-19 responses. And as an entity, in a record time of 90 days, we were able to raise $6.5 million to put up a state-of-the-art health division, another diversification beyond the vertical textiles that we do. So what it means is that the African Union has now come of age to offering solutions to African problems. I am very mindful of the Honorable Minister coming in for the closure, and all I can say, members, is that let us seize the opportunity that we have in these institutions to grow intra-Africa trade. The last that I can say is that beyond financing, actually, the facility that we now have, they have been very central in terms of facilitating our access to new markets. And the case in point is when they stood with us as we endeavored to access the market of Equatorial Guinea, where now we export armed forces uniforms. Mr. Moderator, with those remarks and in the interest of time, allow me to submit at that point. Thank you very much.
IATF 2023, Connecting African Markets.
Ladies and gentlemen, my uncle, the Minister of Finance, is here. I told you I'm related generally to two kinds of individuals. People who have influence and those who have money. If you have none of those, we may have blood relations, but we can talk about that in the village. Not in public. I want to be able to say that I'm a successful person from a very successful place and show off. So, Uncle, it's good to see you. And my uncle also traveled with my big brother, who is seated next to him, who is also from a very interesting place. Honorable, thank you so much for making time for this particular engagement. We have had very interesting deliberations here, and we continue to have them. And right now, we are going to go through the moments. I know that Mr. Mwesigwa will give you a very good brief, and that brief will preferably be in Runyoro. Mr. Mwesigwa, I'm asking that you brief the minister in Runyoro, please. We can use English after the meeting. So that the brief can be conk. Yes. The two gentlemen there come from the land of those of you who have studied East African history. I am a very keen student of Kabalega, and one of the things I liked about Kabalega, I like stubborn people. So I like the stubbornness of Kabalega and Mwanga. I'll call John Bosco Karisa here to come and walk us through the process of closure and he will decide those who will be in or not. And from now until further notice, John Bosco will be the substantive master of ceremony. This is his first outing in that job, so give him a very big hand clap to make him warm.
Thank you very much, Samson Kasumba. Samson deserves a very big round of applause. You have done quite commendable work. Our guest of honor, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning from the Republic of Uganda, the Chair of the Council of Ministers, who is a patron for this second East African Business and Investment Forum. Thank you for being with us. The Vice Chair, EABC, Dennis Carrera, the Deputy Secretary General, responsible for Customs, Trade and Monetary Union, my sister Annette. Before I present the resolution, allow me to invite the Vice Chair to usher in our ministers to the high table. The Vice Chair, please, you are most welcome.
Yeah, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Planning of Uganda, the Chairman, Council of Ministers, and Minister of East African Affairs from Burundi, the Deputy Secretary General. It's my pleasure at this juncture to invite you to the high table and take your seats. As you come, Honorable Minister, there was one big message from this two-day gathering, that East Africa is not short of speeches. We have been so good in speeches. We are soon getting awards as orators. But this particular gathering focused on doing less in speaking and doing more in actions. As you come, Honorable Minister, give us a message of action, action, and action. I thank you.